Hey guys, welcome back to Los Artilleros podcast. It's episode 2. I just wanted to begin by thanking you guys for watching episode 1. I was up to 45 views now, which is awesome. It's way more than I thought I was going to get. I was aiming for about 20, to be honest. Um, so episode 1 was quite funny. It was clearly my first time on doing a podcast or on a podcast. Bit nervous. It was a bit awkward and ghetto at times. So I apologise for that, but hopefully you'd find it funny. Hopefully in the future I'll get better at doing it and a bit more coherent and less rambling on. I just want to dive straight into it, really. I think this episode is probably going to be a little bit more Arsenal orientated rather than Chivas. I will have include Chivas news at the end, but it's going to be mainly Arsenal, I think, for this episode anyway. Let's just get straight back into it. So Arsenal, so the last league game was against Leicester City at home. Bit of a horror show, really. 3-0 down. AZ McNiles getting sent off in the first half. It couldn't have gone much worse, to be honest. It was on the back of 2 league losses against Wolves and I forget the other team. I forgot the other team, but Wolves was one of them. 2 losses. Needed a win. Needed to fight for top 4. I think third place had become unattainable by that point. 3-0. What can I say, really? Amazing Maitland-Niles is sending off, I think, changed the game. It sounds like an excuse, and to a point it is, but it's not totally. I think we started the game terribly. We let them have control of the ball. They had a couple of good shots before Niles got sent off. To be honest, I was at the pub watching it with my Arsenal crew, and I missed the first yellow card that he got. So when he got the red card, I was a little bit surprised. I was like, what? I think the second yellow wasn't really a yellow. I think the referee got a little bit trigger happy with his cards. I think he could have let that one go and waited for another foul to send him off. But, it is what it is. We can't change it now. But it did change the game. It made us way more nervous, and we had nothing really going forward the whole game, to be honest, even with Niles on the pitch. And it just got even worse with 10 men down. And then Leicester City ran riot with us, really. 3-0. I mean, what can you say? It couldn't have gone much worse. It couldn't have come at a worse time as well. We needed the 3 points in this game. Chelsea are doing terribly. Man United are doing terribly. Tottenham aren't doing that great either. It would have been a perfect opportunity to cement our top 4 place, get all that nerves out of the way, and then concentrate on the Europa League. But, it wasn't meant to be. So it's now 3 league games without a win, which is terrible, to be honest. We've already had a terrible away form. Being at home against Leicester, I would have hoped that would have helped. I would have hoped that would have helped us, but it obviously didn't. It wasn't. It sucks really because we need Champions League football, and top 4 obviously is one of the avenues to get it. Obviously, we're in the Europa League still, and that's another avenue. But it would have been nice to get top 4 after last season's terrible finish of, as far low as we were. It would have been nice to get top 4 and get out of the way, but as I said, it was meant to be. So let's look at my list quickly. So the positive news for Arsenal actually is that we're still in the Europa League. We beat Napoli pretty comfortably, to be honest, over 2 legs in the quarterfinals. I think it was 3-0 aggregate. What can I say? It was comfortable. It was easy, to be honest. Very strange that we can't win an away game in the Premier League, and yet we can go to Napoli of all places and get a win, get a result anyway. Can't quite explain it. I think it's probably due to Unai Emery's experience in the Europa League and his inexperience in the Premier League. Obviously, I kind of tend to forget that it's Unai Emery's first season and he's only a few months into it as well. Obviously, it's coming to an end now, but the first season for a foreign manager is always tough. Um, so it's hard to remember that sometimes. It's because we think of Arsenal as always being in the top four and being a top club. To be as low as fifth, sixth, challenging for fourth, and having fourth as the ultimate goal, although we're famous for it, is not what we want. We want to be in the Champions League. We want to be fighting for the Premier League title. We don't want to be fighting for top four. Um, Whereas Unai Emery, obviously, it's all brand new to him. And obviously, he's played in tough leagues, in La Liga and whatnot before, and Ligue 1, the French league. But the Premier League's a different animal. And I know people are going to say I'm biased, obviously, you're English, you're going to favour the Premier League. But the Premier League is, I would say, the toughest league. Any team could beat any team on a given day, no matter what form you're in, no matter what players you've got. So Man City could lose to Burnley. Liverpool could lose to Southampton at any time. Arsenal can lose to Leicester or Wolves, a newly promoted team. So yeah, it's a super tough league, and I think it's taken Emery time to adjust. I know we had a good spell, I think over Christmas or just before Christmas, where we had a few. I think it was like 16 or so games without a loss, and that was good. But I think that was a false dawn, to be honest. I think that was false hope. I think it gave us. I think I'm to blame as well. I started to believe that hey, maybe Emery can just walk into this club and walk into this league and get us into the top four easy peasy. But no, it's turned out to be a lot tougher for him. I think he's probably learnt a lot in the last few months. All without really having a transfer window under his belt. I think all the players that we got in the summer and all the players that we let go last summer were not part of his decision at all. I don't think he had any part in that decision at all. So I'm looking forward to this summer where he can clearly outline the players he wants or the positions that he needs reinforcements in, and then obviously the background staff can go and sort that out. But yeah, the top four was always going to be our main goal for this season. I think every Arsenal fan can agree with me with that. Get back in the Champions League. As soon as we get back in the Champions League, it opens up a lot more money for us, which apparently we need because apparently we don't have that much money. And it also opens up a better caliber of players. The top players are not going to want to play for a team that's in the Europa League. They want to play in the Champions League. They want to play against the other top players in the league in Europe. So Champions League is absolutely essential. And to go into that, obviously, I digressed a little bit, but yeah. So we're still in the Europa League. We had our first leg against Valencia in the semi-final. Yeah, it was a decent 3-1 win. Terrible start, as per usual. We don't seem to start games very well at the moment. Went 1-0 down, within 8 minutes, 10 minutes. And it was an away goal as well, which didn't help. But fortunately, and unusually, to be fair, we fought back. Alexandre Lacazette fought back and scored 2 good goals. Ozil was doing well, controlling the attacking play. I think he got an assist as well, which is awesome. I don't know what did it. I think going 1-0 down gave the players a bit of a kick up the backside, a bit that they should have had going into the game, but better late than never. And I think for the rest of the first half, we controlled that game pretty well. Obviously, they still had chances. Cech had a good game. To be honest, I think one of his best games this season for us. Made a couple of good saves. And then obviously Aubameyang got the third goal at the end of the game. I think it was like the 86th minute or something. So 3-1, pretty good. 3 goals kind of negates the one away goal that Valencia got. But it's still going to be tough. I think going to Valencia in the next leg is going to be tough. We don't play well away, although we do in the Europa League this season, which again is strange. I can't quite understand that. I would have assumed going away in the Premier League would have been easier than going away in the Europa League. But it's good. I can't complain. I don't understand it, but I'm not complaining about it. Given the way we dispatched Napoli, I'm pretty confident about Valencia. Touch wood, I don't want to jinx it, but I think we can go there and get a draw or get a 1-0 win and get to the final. Talking about the other semis, Chelsea versus Eintracht Frankfurt. It was a draw, I believe. It was a 1-1 draw. So Chelsea got the away goal. Which looks likely that they're probably going to go through. It's probably looking like an all-English Europa League final. It's weird with Eintracht and Chelsea because Chelsea aren't playing that good at the moment, whereas Eintracht are. And I think they did well to get a draw out from Chelsea, to be honest. I think they should have won. I think they should have beaten Chelsea. I would have liked to have had a Arsenal-Eintracht final. I think it would have been a winnable final for us. I think Chelsea is winnable too. Chelsea aren't playing that well in the league as well as us. We're both 5 top 4 and we're both playing terribly in the league, which is strange. But yeah, that whoever wins that game, I think Arsenal could have a good shot of beating. And I think last year, obviously being we were never going to beat Atletico Madrid. I think they're a definite top Champions League side. And I don't think we were ever going to beat them. But Eintracht or Chelsea, I think it's winnable. I think Unai Emery's, again, like I said, Unai Emery's experience in the Europa League could give us an advantage. Sarri doesn't seem to have complete cohesion with his squad. They don't seem to be 100% invested in him. But yeah, I mean, going on a little bit of a diversion, I just want to say how cool it would have been to have Marco Fabian and Carlos Salcedo playing for Frankfurt still. Absolutely, I kind of understood Fabian leaving. He was aging now. He was being edged out of the team. We saw him leaving months before he did. But Carlos Salcedo, I think, could have stayed. Salcedo, sorry. He could have stayed. He should have stayed. I know he had family reasons and there's background reasons why he left, and maybe Frankfurt were okay with letting him go. But I think he should stay. He would have been awesome. I think having a Mexican player in the Europa League final would have been, or the semi-final at least, would have been amazing for the Mexican game. But it was never going to happen. It was not meant to be. So anyway, so let's go down the list. So okay, so I basically think that Arsenal are going to get the Champions League via the Europa League. I think that we definitely can win it. I think we probably will if we get into the final. Obviously, nothing's set in stone. Valencia could come back and score a couple of goals and win. At home, obviously, it's at home for them. But I think that's probably our best route into the Champions League now. Again, top 4 is still possible. But it's going to be so tough now. We have to win the last couple of games of the season. We have to rely on Chelsea losing. We have to rely on Man United continuing to be poor. It would be nice to see Tottenham lose their last 2 games. I think they're with Tottenham, because obviously they're our main rivals. It was nice to see Barcelona dispatch them quite comfortably in the Champions League. I don't think Spurs are going to come back. Not Barcelona, sorry. I can't remember who it was that played. But they did lose, though. I remember that. But yeah, as soon as Spurs leave the Champions League, the better. I don't think they're a top team. To be honest, I think once Eriksen looks like he's leaving. Once Kane leaves, I think Spurs go back to being an average team. I don't think they have the funds that people think they do. I think their stadium's taking a lot of their revenue away. But anyway, enough about Tottenham. I don't like them. So anyway, I just wanted to talk quickly about Chivas. Obviously, they're the other half of this podcast. I just wanted to talk a little bit about them. Not much of it good, I'm afraid. Just have a look. So, yeah, Chivas have lost. Well, they won actually against Club Leon last weekend, which was very surprising. Leon were on a massive winning streak. I think they hold the record for the amount of winnings. I think it's 12 now, 12 or 13, which is massive. Even in the Mexican League, Liga MX, it's a massive achievement to do that, and I think they are rightly top spot. I think they could go on to win the Liga, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Chivas won 2-1, and a surprise victory. I think Chivas hadn't won a game in like their 2 or 3 games previous, so it was good to see them get a win. It was nice to see Pulido score. Always nice to see Pulido score. I think he's underrated to an extent, and I think he's undervalued. Not undervalued, but the Chivas coaches seem to not get the best out of him. I think Almeida was the last person to really unleash Pulido when they won the double so long ago. But yeah, it's nice to see Chivas get the win. Pretty pointless though. Not going to get in the Liga. No chance of Liga, but it does help the relegation issues. Obviously, Chivas were looking like they're going to be in the relegation battle. Obviously, with Mexico's weird relegation system, which I still really don't quite understand. I know that it's the best out of 3 seasons, I believe. The amount of points you get over 3 seasons. Obviously, Chivas have had a terrible last couple of seasons, so they had to do at least okay in this season to stave off relegation for next season, which they did. The wins seems to have helped them with that, but they're still not out of the woods yet. They've got a lot of rebuilding to do. They've had 3 managers, 3 coaches in 3 months now. Each of them don't seem to be great. Cardoso, I never really clicked with. It looked like at the beginning of the Clausura that he had fixed Mexico's defensive issues, and that at least we wouldn't be conceding as many goals, as maybe we'd see out a lot more draws and a lot more 0-0s and 1-1s. And we did that. We had a good beginning of Clausura. I think we went on like a 5-game winning streak or something like that. And then it just all fell apart. I think he lost a few games in a row and then he got sacked. The interim manager, Coyote, I think his name is, Coyote, or however you pronounce it. He didn't get much of a chance, to be fair. He was only in charge for a handful of games, but he didn't really impress me. His treatment of Vega as well disappointed me. As some of you may know, Vega's my favourite player at Chivas. He's one of my favourite Mexican players in Liga MX at the moment, to be honest. Even when he was at Toluca, I loved him. I think he's an absolute untapped talent. I think he just needs the right coach and the right coaching system and the right players around him to really unlock potential. I think he's definitely in this small group of players that could take over Jimenez and Chicharito in 4 to 8 years' time when those 2 players retire, or retire from the international game at least. Yes, Cardoso started using him on the wing. Absolutely don't understand that. He's an absolute stone cold number 9, in my opinion. He needs to be in the box, in the middle, scoring goals. He's a bit like, I think he's a little bit like in between Jimenez and Chicharito, where he's got more strength than Chicharito, but he's the kind of striker that's on the end of an attacking move, where they do a load of passing, they run up the pitch, they pass. and then he gets it and pushes it into the goal. That's what I think. But he's got a lot more strength. He can hold off players, so it's a little bit like Jimenez, where he can play back to his back to goal, and he can make his attacking teammates involved in his play. So Jimenez at Wolves at the moment, he likes to play with teammates. He likes to pass and make an assist and get on the ball and score. Vega's a little like that. He showed glimpses of that with Pulido at the beginning of the season, where Vega was number 9, Pulido was number 10. They both kind of come deep a little bit, get the ball passed to each other, and get Brazuela involved as well. So he's a little bit of both. But he just needs to be up front in the middle. He can't be on the wing. I don't think he's a winger. He's got speed and he's got strength to hold the players off and keep the ball. But he's not a crosser, I don't think. He's not a supplier, a prolific, what am I trying to say? He's not a prolific supplier, basically, what I'm saying. He will get assists, but I think his main focus is goal scoring. And Coyote and the new manager, I think Boy is his name. I really should know his name. I'm a Chivas fan. They both just don't seem to play him at all. He's in the reserves. He's on the bench. I don't understand it. He's 21. He needs to be playing regularly, and he's by far good enough to play for Chivas, in my opinion. People will argue that Macias and Leon's doing better, and he's better, and he would do better at Chivas, but it looks like Macias doesn't like the Chivas hierarchy that much. There's a bit of bad blood, I think, between them. So I don't hold out much hope that he's going to come back and play for Chivas, but to be honest, I don't mind. I think Vega has a higher ceiling than Macias does, or at least an equal ceiling. It's just Macias is in a good system. He's under a good coach, whereas Vega isn't, unfortunately. I would have loved to see Vega under Almeida, to be honest. Obviously, that's never going to happen now, unless he goes to MLS, which I really, it'd be my absolute nightmare if Vega goes to MLS anytime soon. But it's likely if he's not going to get into Chivas first team, which it surprises me. I thought he'd walk into that team. He should. He's got the talent to do it. It's just the coaches don't seem to like him at the moment. But anyway, that's my Vega segment for this podcast over with. So their next game, Chivas versus Tigres. Chivas go away to Monterrey to Tigres. Not the best place to go when you're trying to get a win and you're trying to get out of a poor run of form. Tigres will be absolutely disappointed that they lost the CONCACAF Champions League final against Monterrey. Not only did they lose another CONCACAF Champions League, not only have they still not won an international cup, but they lost it to their main rivals. Their main rivals in the league as well. I think Monterrey could actually go and win it. I think Monterrey are my pick to win the Liga MX Liguilla this season. So Tigres are going to be pretty angry, to be honest, and pretty fired up. I think Gignac is going to start this game. I think he's going to score. I think Tigres is going to win, to be honest, although I'd love to see Chivas win. Nobody saw Chivas beating Leon, so it's possible. Tigres are already in the Liguilla, so they technically don't really have anything to play for except for pride. It's whether it's on a knife edge, really. It's whether Tigres are disappointed and they've let the defeat get to their heads, or they're fired up and they want to prove a point by dispatching Chivas. It could go either way, in my opinion. I would love to see Vega and Pulido start again with Brazuela. I think Brazuela is Chivas' best player at the moment. Talking about Chivas' best players, I think it was announced a few hours ago that Van Rankin has been bought permanently by Chivas, which I think is awesome. It's obviously a move by the hierarchy to placate the fans. The fans are obviously not very happy at the moment, not happy with his coaches, not happy with how the team's playing. Obviously, we want to be in the league here and we're not. So it's an obvious move. I think if they'd let Van Rankin go and then got a right back from, say, Lobos Buap or from Veracruz, for example, that would have riled up the fans. I think they would have really kicked off with that. So it's a clever move from the hierarchy, I think. It's from the owner, who's not in everyone's best books at the moment. It's a clever move for him to kind of placate the fans and say, look, we want to keep our best players. We don't want to sell all our best players. Van Rankin is one of our best players. He's obviously a starting right back, starting defender. So it's good. I'm happy with that. I'm hoping that we keep all of our best players, to be honest. Normally, I'd like to see a lot of our players go to Europe, but I think at the moment we need to consolidate our position and improve our position. And I think we need to keep our best players for at least a calendar year. Get us back into the Liga next Apertura, and go from there. And then once we're in the Liga year in, year out, then we can just start sending players to Europe, for their careers. So yeah, I think Chivas probably lose against Tigres, but they could win. It'll be interesting to watch the game anyway. So yeah, what else have I got to talk about? Yeah, so that's pretty much it, really. I just wanted to talk a lot about Arsenal and their Champions League efforts and the Europa League and their league. I sincerely hope that Arsenal win their game this weekend. I don't hold out much hope, to be honest. I think that we need to focus all our efforts on the Europa League now. I think top four, while still possible, is further away than the Europa League final. I think we need to play our best players for the Europa. Not that I want to completely give up on the league. It would be nice to see some of the kids play. Obviously, Maitland-Niles is not going to play. But yeah, while I hope we win, I don't think we will. I think we'll lose, or at least we'll probably draw. But my focus really at the moment is on the Europa League final. So yeah, and Chivas obviously, it's the last game of the season. After that, they've got a decent summer coming up. I will be doing podcasts to do with both Arsenal's and Chivas' preseason efforts. Both have got an interesting preseason coming up in America, I believe. So yeah, I'll be doing podcasts for that. I'll be doing podcasts throughout the Mexico's Gold Cup as well. I'll also try and cover as much of the U20 World Cup as well. Just give my views on that and my views on the games and the results and the players on both tournaments, the Gold Cup and the U20 World Cup. So yeah, my podcast won't end with the season ending, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I'm hoping that this podcast was a little bit more coherent, a little bit less awkward than the first episode. I feel more confident this episode than last episode anyway. So hopefully the more I do it, the more I get used to it. Hopefully it unlocks a bit more awesome stuff for me in the future. I'd love to be guests on other podcasts and talk to people. I love talking about football. I love talking about Arsenal, Chivas. I love talking about Mexico, the Liga MX, the Premier League, the European leagues, La Liga, etc. I could talk all day, to be honest. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this episode. I hope you come back for the next episode. If you haven't watched episode 1, watch it. If anything, for the laughs. It's quite funny. I'm not a proud person to an extent, so I can laugh at myself when it's deserving. I just want to dedicate my last few minutes of this podcast to talk about my local club, Perth Glory. They won the Standard League. I actually went to watch their last game of the season last weekend. I think it was last Sunday. They got a 5-0 win against Wellington Phoenix. Proper good stadium. I love the NIB Stadium. Really nice, really good atmosphere. When I look around it, I always imagine kind of to a point what Highbury for Arsenal would have been like, back in the day. Um, awesome stadium. You can see a little bit of the Perth skyline in one of the corners. It's really nice. And Perth Glory are obviously the best team in the league at the moment, the A-League. Um, they are starting to play their playoffs in a week. I'm not sure if I can get to any of those games, but I hope they win it. It'd be awesome for Perth if they win it. They've had a pretty negative few years from what I can tell. I've been trying to read up on them over the last couple of weeks. So yeah, I've been to like 3 games now. Probably go to more. I want to get a jersey at some point, probably when the new one comes out, and have it on the back here so you can see it. So yeah, if you're fans from England or America or Mexico, hopefully I've got fans from Mexico watching. Um, read up on Perth Glory. They're a good team, especially this season. They're a good club. Very classy club. I think they're very one of the longest serving A-League clubs as well, if I'm not mistaken. And a lot of my Arsenal friends are Perth Glory fans as well, so it's nice. I'm turning into a bit of a fan. They're my local club, so it was always going to happen. But yeah, so congratulations to Perth Glory. Hope they win the playoff. I hope I'll let you know if they do, because obviously it'll be big news for me and for my friends locally. Anyway, so yeah, thank you. Stay tuned for episode 3. I'm hoping to keep it weekly, um, at least until the summer, and maybe it might be a little bit further apart in the summer, but we'll see. So yeah, thank you for watching. Adios.